Good afternoon. Just watched a stream on the channel Keep It Techie, black tech YouTuber. Was very impressed with it. Semi-inspired me, along with some other things that have been going on, especially the purchase of this home. Semi-inspired me to make this video right now and just kind of talk about one thing that I do, what I've been doing for quite a few years now, since probably my 25th birthday or so. As far as the home is going, update on that real quick. I'm just removing flooring, cleaning up still. Like, it's so much cleaning, and I haven't even done anything on the second floor. Like, there's stuff up there. The second floor is not crazy and it doesn't smell, so I have time to do stuff. But I'm focusing on the first floor, and it's the flooring on the first floor. So ripping up all the tack strips now, finally. I've been dreading doing that, finally getting to do it now. And thankfully, so far, it's easier than I thought it would be. I've been cleaning up the copious amounts of dirt and dust that was left over from the previous carpet. I'll start putting out some videos on that pretty soon. This week I have off the week of Thanksgiving, so I'm just going to be working on more stuff in the home and everything like that, and looking into getting a grinder to smooth out the floor in the home. So that's what's going on there. And last week, Friday, was my birthday, and I don't celebrate my birthday, but this is my ritual of what I do on my birthday, which is take time to look back. And this ties into like what the segment or category this is under, which is business. But take time to reflect. Every year, probably since my 25th birthday, where some BS happened with like my mom's car getting keyed, and it was just stupid stuff on my part. But it's not something that I deserved to have happen to me, but you know, it sucks. But what it did is it caused me, one of the reasons, because my family doesn't celebrate birthdays too much. Like, we'll do the happy birthdays, but we don't do the parties, we don't do all that other stuff. Like, we rarely ever did that. So I've taken that into my adulthood, and now I really don't ever do it. I don't go out. I don't like going out on holidays. I don't like going out on my birthday. I don't like going out to certain places. I don't like going out to certain places on certain days. So on my birthdays, I sit home and I reflect, or do work, or do something else and treat it like it's a regular day. I have my thoughts on that as well, in terms of like, okay, you want to celebrate a birthday, that's nice, but what about all the other days that the person lives? People don't just live for that one day out of the year. You can celebrate any day, and I really think as a person, you really should celebrate your life. Celebrate who you are, and celebrate. I should use my gimbal for this. Celebrate the things that you do have, and things that you're grateful for. Probably the only holiday where I celebrate, invite people over, and do things is Thanksgiving, because we get to cook and share that experience with other people. And I think that's probably one of the nicer holidays in terms of like really celebrating people and things around you. Like that I love. I really do like that. I did get a call from Lionel. Shout out to him. Lionel, the style, it's called Style is Life. He also runs a cryptocurrency channel as well. I think it's Style is Life is YouTube, but his YouTube handle. But he called and we talked, and the talk we had was inspirational as well, in terms of talking about finances and investing and things like that. So hopefully we can get some things going for that here in the future. So just to talk about what I do 5 minutes in now, we're finally getting into the conversation. I always do this. Just to talk about what I do in terms of my birthdays, I take the time to reflect. So this past year was quite crazy. It was quite good. I've talked in previous videos about my finances and paying off about 30 grand with over 30 grand worth of debt, probably about like 31.4 grand worth of debt, and then amassing probably another 30 grand in assets. I still do have my truck payment in terms of my debt there, but I thought the assets, getting those, were more important than the truck payment. And that did work out actually fairly well for me in terms of having money to liquidate those assets and, go into this home and go into this home in terms of having all the money for that. So that was really good, or that worked out well, I should say. I wouldn't say it's really good, just by the sheer math of it. And during these times of reflection, I look back at what has transpired throughout the year. For 10 years, I ran a computer consulting company, and I did that for quite a bit of time. Company was, first, it started off where it was a sole proprietorship, where it was AOE Networks. And then I partnered with my business partner, Jermaine. And then we had another business partner along the way. And Jermaine was running his own little operation, like my own little operation as well. So we combined our forces, and we did great things for 10 years. A lot of money was made. A lot of value was extracted out of that or created there. That money I was able to bankroll even getting into the salon, which I walked away from, or was able to walk away from. My business partner went ahead and, took over, or I signed over the shares. My other business partner signed over his shares. So, and then now he has a new business partner, I think. So with all that, a lot of things happened. There was some issues that I was having, even in my own home. Nothing like domestic or anything like that, but it was just little things that were happening that were just really, really taxing on me mentally, and made me depressed, especially with the coronavirus where everything was locked down. Really, I just went to work and came home, went to work and came home. And a lot of people have been cracking because of that. But I took it and was able to do quite a bit. But looking back at business and looking back at listening to the stream from Keep It Techie today, I just thought about like something that I've been wanting to make, which is kind of loosely talking about where I have failed, and how those failures caused me to be in the position that I'm in. And I mean, as you can see from the view, it ain't a bad position, but it's also not a position, not the position that I thought I'd be in. It's definitely not the position that I quote unquote wanted for myself. Over time, I have adapted quite a bit. It's nice to be able to. I got my blow up bed in the next room, and it's night, and it's like right in front of a window, so it's nice to I can just get up and look out the window, and I can see this type of view here. So this is my everyday. Whereas for some people, it's nowhere near this. So I have to be happy for that. And there's a lot of work that was put into it, but there was a lot of failure, a lot of things that I did wrong. So one of the first things I did wrong was not really holding, and this is impromptu here, so I don't have a list, but not holding my business partners accountable for certain things. So if there were failures or anything else like that, and also even not holding myself accountable for certain things, or being lax on myself. Now, there's certain things where, like, hey, if my business partner failed on something, you didn't treat it like, hey, like a punishment or anything like that. But also, and it shouldn't be treated like that because that's your business partner, not your employee. But also, it's something where it's like, okay, hey, we got to hold ourselves accountable in terms of where we messed up. Now, some things I did, I'm not going to lie. My business partner would probably tell you, nah, he was on me about stuff. And some things I did, in a sense, talk to my business partner about, like, hey, listen, is this what we really want to do, so on and so forth. And he had to do the same thing with me on my side in terms of, hey, Mike, I don't think you did this right. This doesn't look good. I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. So that is something where I think if you're running a business and you have a business partner, don't be afraid to treat that business partner like, not like that they're your equal, and also treat that business partner, not to say that business partner can't fuck up, but not to treat them like they're perfect, and, check them, offer that criticism, do the things that are necessary to make sure that you keep things in line with your vision, your particular vision and perspective, and then also the overall vision of where you want the business to go that you and your business partner share. Because you should have a shared vision. If you do not have a shared vision with your business partner, then there is going to be an issue consistently. That definitely happened with the salon, and there was consistent issues in terms of back and forth and talking with my business partner. I was very pessimistic and focused on the numbers, which was a benefit and definitely a flaw, and caused us to butt heads in a lot of ways. My business partner, I wouldn't say hot-headed, but he'll let you know. He'll tell you about yourself and your mama. I love Mike, but yeah, man. He would tell you, like, hey, listen, man, I don't really give a fuck. I'm gonna do whatever I want, and that was a problem because he didn't see totally my perspective, even though he did understand it. He was like, listen, I've been in this game for a while. You guys have not. And you could see there was that gap in a sense, quote unquote, lack of respect in terms of our position. Now, his actions said differently. His words said sometimes just a lack of respect in terms of, hey, we're the guys that believed in you and put in this money behind you in terms of this business venture, and we're the ones that broke bread with you. So I'm gonna need a little bit more respect than what I'm getting, and that's one thing that we had the back and forths on. It was like, listen, he's an older gentleman, and I had to sometimes be like, listen, man, no, that's not cool, and I'm not going to support it, nor am I going to give any money to it, and I'm going to focus on these bills. And that was a problem. That was a flaw, because if I look at it and talk about it more, you could see where. So we went from not being able to talk to your business partner and now for criticism, and then now we're getting a little bit deeper into it in terms of sharing of the vision, kind of like a number 2 or number 1A, sharing the vision of your business partner. If you don't share that vision of the business partner, and you don't have that view of something, then a lot of things can go left real quick, and then actually a lot of things can go left and they can go right, which means you're parting. You're not going the same direction. You're not looking at the same thing. So that causes a split, and that causes even further issues. And with that being said, is that something that you want? I mean, you have to, you have to lay that out from the get-go. You have to say, hey, is this how we're going to move in this situation? And you can't go over everything ahead of time, but at least have some type of loose rule, or not rules, but a solid foundation, not a loose foundation or loose rules, but solid foundation of what you expect. Maybe the top 3 things, what, kind of like a bit of a constitution, if you will, in terms of the partnership. And I think that's important to have. Once you have that quote unquote constitution, then you can do things like, okay, if this happens based off of our constitution and the bylaws or the written agreement we have, which you should always have a partnership agreement. The partnership agreement that we have says this, and this is how we do a split in equity or what have you. If anything happens, this is how we deal with the death of a business partner. Contingencies such as that should be in a document and written down. Also, there should be another document, and this is something I would do, or this leads into how I'm going to run my next business, which is with no business partners. But if I ever get into a business partnership again, okay, well, this is what I expect from you. This is what you expect from me. Is it monetary? Is it sweat equity? What have you? And then this is how we're going to handle these situations when they come up. In some cases, of course, be flexible. But if you're the person with the money and you're bringing that in, and then the other person's not bringing any money in, then how do you deal with that? So all these things you should consider at some point. Sorry, I had to turn off the flash here. I noticed that was on. You should consider at some point and really talk to your business partner about. Moving on to the next thing. What I will be doing in terms of business, or what I probably should have done in terms of business, is the splits. So when you're not making a lot of money and to split, say, $50, and, split, X amount of dollars in terms of travel costs and all this other stuff, or dealing with paying for travel expenses. Okay, you're the one that's driving the most, and the other person just works on the computers in the office. How do you get your fair share of that money? Understanding that having a partner means that you have to share, that you have somebody that has equity in the company, whether it be equal or uneven equity. How do you deal with getting your quote unquote fair share? And not feeling, quote unquote, gypped or underpaid, undervalued, what have you, because that causes issues as well, and causes you to part ways, and it can be used as a wedge between you and your partner, and then also cause you to lose track or lose sight of your overall vision, because the money ain't coming back right. It's very hard when you got $50. And you spent X amount of time to do all this, so on and so forth, and do travel, and you get $50 for a job, and then you're supposed to give half of that to somebody else when you're starting out. It's like, man, I could have made this much, but then also you have to consider what that business partner brought. Maybe they brought the actual business. So if you aren't a person that is sociable, or willing or able to get out there and do sales and do calls and all this other stuff, then hey, maybe that other partner does deserve what they're getting, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have the work. So there's things like that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I want to move the next business. I want to do it myself. Having a business partner in some cases can be training wheels. In some cases, depending on the business partnership that you have and the relationship you have with said business partner, those can be restrictive training wheels. They can actually hold you back from making certain decisions, especially on the fly. Also, when you're working with a business partner, that splitting of equity could be detrimental to you, because maybe you should be taking some of that money that you're splitting and saying, okay, I think we need to make this improvement and purchase this software or this service or X, Y, and Z. And by not doing that, you're missing out on some money. You're missing out on a possible opportunity based off of if you made an investment in your business in one way, shape, or form, because you had more capital. So taking that 50 and taking that whole, taking maybe your travel expenses out of there, say, let's call it $15 or something like that, or like $10 for just gas or whatever, and again, that's not total travel expenses. Also, if you go by the mileage rule, which is like 55 cents per mile or something like that, it's probably going to be less money than that. And then of course you have to factor in wear and tear on your vehicle. But if you're looking at all of this, and or if you're not looking at all of this, it's important that you do. But if you're looking at all this and then you take that out of that 50, you say, hey, listen, I'm going to make that sacrifice. I'm going to take less money out. Because maybe you have another job, another source of income that's holding you over while you actually nurse this baby or your business, which is this baby. You nurse it to a point where it can actually run itself and do well and make more money for you. But you take that $50 and you take $10 out of it. So you have $40 that you can invest into something else. So now that you've taken that, what is that, 1/5? Yeah, so you take that 1/5 out, that $10, and you always have 4/5 going towards making improvements in the business. Excuse me. You have that 80% going towards making improvements in the business, and that's the sacrifice that you make starting out, because then that can actually multiply your actual returns later on. But then if you have a business partner that doesn't agree with that, or that needs that money, because that's how it is when you start. You're going to need that money. In a sense, you started this business because it was a quote-unquote side hustle, but you needed a side hustle because your main job or your main bit of work, it just wasn't enough. It was inadequate. So now you have to have these things, or you have to do this work, so on and so forth. So when you're looking at things like that, it can be really sink or swim, flight. I think it's like fight versus flight or something like that. Your survival instincts start to kick in, and you're like, nah, man, I need all that. I need all that. If I'm getting a half, I'm going to need to get the whole half, not $1 less, because I got to do this, X, Y, and Z. And that leads into the other thing. So the splits and not actually putting money into your business, and not making that sacrifice, and also not having the same vision with your business partner, those all are intertwined there. So that leads into the next thing, which is when you're starting a business, as hard as it is, and this is not always the way to do it, you could do what I like to say, quote unquote, you could just thug it real quick. But when you're starting a business, you should have some type of surplus, something to the side, something that allows you to make changes or do things whenever necessary, and then not really sweat it. So what if I had $5,000 sitting somewhere? I wouldn't be pressed for $25. And that's just $5,000. That's quote unquote, in the grand scheme of things, when you're a higher earner or, something else, that's nothing. Oh shoot, I got a woodpecker there. I don't know if those are good or bad. I'm not going to do anything. There's too many damn birds out there. But when you're a higher under, $5,000 isn't a big deal. In some cases, though, when you're just starting out, and again, when I was just starting out, $5,000? That was like winning the lotto. $5,000? Ha! $5,000 would have saved lives, would have saved millions. Millions of lives. In a sense, is the way that $5,000 hit different when you're broke as shit. So that's something that's important to know. But now $5,000 is like, oh, okay, yeah, I just liquidated that out of, Coinbase or something else. So, $5,000, who cares? So that's something that's important. If you actually had that type of surplus, and this is something that I did wrong, because I was quote unquote, in a sense, thugging it. It was just like, nah, man, we're gonna hustle. We're gonna do this. We just gonna do this regardless of whatever, we got to get this money. We got to get it now. And I can't wait to save up $5,000 so that I can go ahead and make $5,000. Fuck that. So having that savings is definitely something that would be important to have and is really nice. And I'm not saying that usual 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, which is like a Dave Ramsey rule of thumb. Dave Ramsey's not the only one that says it. Probably not the only one that came up with it, but or the first person that came up with it. But having X amount of dollars, that $1,000 to $2,000, and I'll just use Dave Ramsey term because a lot of people know him, but that emergency stash and things like that, or those expenses. So that's definitely something that can actually ease the pain and ease the pressure of starting a business and, doing these things, what's it called? Being able to make these sacrifices, being able to say, hey, listen, if you're a sole proprietorship, I'm only going to take 1/5, 20%. I'm only going to take 20% of what I make into covering travel expenses, and the other 80%, I'm going to go ahead and reinvest that into the business. So that's something that's very important to actually think about and consider when you're actually doing all of this. I think it's extremely important, and if I was to quote unquote do it over again, I definitely would have a bit of a stash, and that's something that I'm working on right now. I'm even considering possibly getting a regular night job at the Lowe's here in town, just to make a couple quick dollars and pay off my truck in less than 6 months. You know, like if I can do that, I'll make less money than I actually really want. But at least I can pay off the truck, and then that extra 480 the 480 in terms of my truck payment, instead of paying that over the next 4 years because I refinanced that loan for a lower interest rate. Instead of paying that over the next 4 years, I can just go ahead and have that extra 480 per month to make investments, and also have a bit of a cushion in terms of, you know, what I got to do, or what I want to do in terms of research and development and things like that. So, thinking about that. Okay, so that goes into another thing. Not being afraid, and this is something I didn't fail at, but I'll just go over it. But not being afraid to work multiple jobs. Not being afraid to work a job. Also, and this is a failure as well, letting go of that steady paycheck. Ooh, that one I still haven't done. Yeah, I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it before I got this place, and it just didn't work out that way. Things got worse for me when I was actually going to make that push to get my own get everything going. But it worked out better, because if I was to make that push, I would have been in way more debt, and the situation would have been even more dire. It's not the way I wanted it, but I have to admit that what happened and how everything turned out was a lot better than what I possibly could have done. So I have to be, I have to understand that, or just be honest about that. One thing that I did for a number of years, because even while I was working even while I was actually hustling during the day, doing IT consulting for 10 years, I was at a night job for 9 years. So I started that business, just about 1 year before I started my night job, and that night job conflicted. But it also, after a while, like, it didn't get in the way, and it did. But actually being able to focus on your business and your craft is way more beneficial, and is probably one of the bigger sacrifices that you can make in terms of, like, having less money and scraping by and things like that, if you can do it. Being able to focus your time and say, okay, how can I improve this business? And always working towards that goal of improving your business. So that goes back to having your emergency fund, having those months of expenses and things like that, which is what I try to build. But you can't build your emergency fund. You can't build that 3 to 6 months of expenses when you have 30, 40, 50, 60, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. It doesn't make any sense. You'll just get crushed, and your business may not work, and you'll make a gamble that just really puts you even in a worse position after making said gamble or rolling that dice. Again, it turned out better because now I can have a view like this, and honestly, with the city of Waycross where I'm at, ain't shit to do here. So, it's like, that's a good and bad thing, because I had to drive like an hour last night to Valdosta to, like, just see see a town where they have a Best Buy and they have a club and stuff like that. And it's like, it's a small ass town in comparison to what I'm used to, because there's so many towns and cities around where I'm from, city of Plantation, Florida, that it's like but this is something here. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, I can go to Las Olas in 2 seconds. You know, like they have stuff like that over there, but it ain't popping like it would be in Florida. You know, but you pay for that. You pay in higher housing costs and things like that. Anyways, being in a position like this or a place like this, I can actually focus a little bit more on some of my other things. Right now, I'm focusing on the flooring here in the home and making these improvements and getting it to a better state. Pretty soon, I'm hopefully in January, I need to really start beating my feet in terms of getting the job search going again, because I did it before and I got a couple hits, but nothing came of it. So hopefully in January, probably have another source of income along with my day job, have another night job of some sort, or really make the true sacrifice that I'm talking about, which is just, you know, just devoting more time into into a business, into a startup. So I have a couple ideas with that. So I'm kind of battling that because I still do have some debt that I want to get paid off. And if I can spend the next year or so paying off that debt, as well as even remodeling the home, I could be somewhat better for it. But there's things you got to worry about with that, as I'm talking about. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna be above the point of like, hey, listen, I'm making the same mistakes that I'm talking about, and I see that. But also, there's what you, in terms of your personality or what you want to do personally, and what you think is the best route. If I can pay off the truck, I'll be in a better spot. If I can, you know, save up more money and invest more money, I can be in a better spot for retirement as well, because that comes along. You know, so that's definitely one thing I didn't do. So continuing on talking about failures, one thing is, and this is one thing that I want to solve in the next business, is you know, getting away from business partnerships. Like, why do you need a business partner? Can you not do it yourself? Do you think it'll be better if you work with somebody? Was it better when you worked with somebody the last time? Did you have the right business partner? My business partners I still talk to. I still consider them brethren, people that are close with me, people that literally, you know, they went on the field of battle with me and we fought. We lost. We won in some places and lost in others, but these are men that I could still talk to on some level. And even with the salon, with the situation it is, these are men that I could still say, hey, listen, you know, I want to make a move towards this. Do you want to have another go at it? Like, what are we going to do different this time? So, I had to ask myself, do I want that? Do I want to have somebody else's vision along with my vision? Do I want to put myself in a different mindset, or keep myself in a different mindset, keep my business in a certain mindset? Excuse me. Do I want to share the ultimate goal and outcomes with another person? Maybe I don't. Maybe I want to keep it all to myself. And in business, I want to say there's nothing wrong with that. The only problem I do see with that, there's nothing totally wrong with that. The only problem is knowing when it's time to either get employees or get a business partner. That leads into another thing. Employees versus business partners. And I'll probably do 2 more before. There's so much more, but in terms of that I can come up with, and I'm hoping this is digestible. But yeah, let's get into a 30-minute video. Past a 30-minute video now. But you know, getting to a point where, hey, you know, as one person, I can't do anymore. I cannot do anymore. I cannot clone myself. I cannot program others to do something for me, do my bidding, blah blah blah. I've reached a a obstacle, a fork in the road, a wall, a cliff, what have you, a gap, a valley, a canyon, something that I cannot pass without the help of another. And that gets into the last thing I want to talk about, which is, do you need a business partner or do you need an employee? Do not get it fucked up, because it can fuck up the money. The reason why I said this is, at one point in terms of, deciding whether I needed a business, not deciding, but my business partner and I talking about whether we needed a business partner or an employee. We had the employee, but then can you provide enough work for the employee? In our case, it was too early for the employee, and it's probably something we shouldn't have done, because it was not. It didn't work out the right way with us and the employee, because we didn't have enough work for the employee. We as business partners should have been doing the work and getting more work to the point where we could quit our jobs and then go from there. And that's a problem that we had, and I'm glad I said it like that, because we didn't want to let go of our regular checks, like I talked about earlier, not letting go of that steady check, it hindered us. It caused us to stop. It caused us to not make the opportunity. Make use of those opportunities. So instead of not having the money, we didn't have the time, which is way more important than having the money. And because of that, that caused a serious issue in terms of what we should have done as business partners, where we should have been with all of that. So a business partner comes with, they would take shares of equity. They would know the ins and outs. They would know the back end stuff. You have to let them in on things. You have to not only give them their fair share, or whatever you think is a fair share, or whatever you worked out in terms of your partnership deal, but then you also have to make sure you include them in on certain decisions depending on the level of partner they are or the relationship you have within the partnership. Then with an employee, okay, now you're going to have to pay this person on a regular basis. There's fees and other things associated with that, taxation, medical if you get that high or what have you. And then if you're still quote unquote hustling and thugging it, then you still have to worry about things like, do I have enough work for this person? Do I have enough money to make sure this person gets paid next week? Because we just did all this job. This person just worked 80 hours and they want their check on Friday. You're not getting paid for this job for another net 30. Do you have the money for that? And we had an employee and we didn't have the money for that. It was like we weren't ready. We had to, in a sense, make them wait sometimes, and we were a small business, and we just did that wrong. That was bad. That was piss poor planning. That was piss poor execution. We could have just done that a lot better. So when I look at what I did and the decisions I made and how that influenced my business partner and the decisions he made and how those influenced me, I look at it as like, okay, I screwed up and this is what I want to do differently. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to end the video here. It's already like 30, it's about to be 40 minutes here. Thank you, as always, for listening. Thank you for enjoying the view with me. I hope to do more videos like this and bring other content and work with other people in terms of, black YouTube creators, MGTOW YouTube creators, and other things in terms of just mindset. And essentially, I hope this helps somebody. I really do. And just want to say thank you for everything. And just to also, on your birthday or a day that you choose, once a year, just sit down and reflect. That could be New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. Don't celebrate. Celebration is distractions in some cases. Sit down and really just look at where you were, where you are, and where you're going. That may make you cry, which it has done for me. It may make you proud. It may make you mad. But, you know, it was you. You know, you did all that. So I just want you all to think about that in terms of having that one day, at least a year, to really look at what's really going on and what has already gone on and what's happening to you. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for enjoying the view. Peace.